Happy Bag Talk Thursday, y'all. I know I gotta pin my comment. Oh wow, Yusuf, you move fast. Let me. Can you guys hear me? I have a mic. I did accept it, right? Yes, accept.
Hey,
Hi. Hi.
all
Oh
right. I
my
hope I'm not
gosh.
hope I'm not lagging
No,
too much.
you're fine.
Okay.
First of all, West Coast sun, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
Um, well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for coming on here.
absolutely.
Told you in the DMs, I think you were one of my favorite people to interview.
Yeah,
A lot of what you said resonated with me last time we spoke in 2020.
yeah.
And I really just wanted, when I was thinking brainstorm about this show and the people I wanted to have on, you were like the first person I thought of because I'm like, yo, the people on my platform need to hear what you have to say. I feel like you are super influential, you're impactful, you're knowledgeable, you have a lot of wisdom. And I really wanted that energy to end off the month of January. So thank you.
Wow.
Giving you your flowers.
Yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate that, and the feeling is mutual. It was one of the best conversations that I had during that period as well. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you for having me on.
Thank you. So for those who on my platform that don't know who you are, if you can just, just tell them why you're the GOAT.
No, 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 no. I'm still working on that. But yeah, I am a father first now. I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I actually just had my second baby boy on Monday, so um, that was an amazing experience. I'm done now.
Oh, so you're a father of
Um,
three now.
I had three. Yeah, I just
Oh,
had my
I
third.
thought it was just two. Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
starting a
so
family.
yeah, so got the whole family, and biggest thing for me is yeah, I mean I'm an artist manager or talent manager. I also work in the kind of music industry. I've been doing that for about 13 to 14 years, via booking festivals, doing concerts, tours, large scale activations, and then separate from that, I consult with different brands. So there's a lot of different brands that I kind of consult with behind the scenes on like the creative marketing side. So those are kind of the main things that I do creatively.
I read an interview and you consider yourself a hired gun.
Yes,
So you come in and
yes.
basically you get stuff done. You kind of come in, you see what the problem is, and you just fix it. You bring stuff to brands, and you basically make their platform bigger. Is what I took from it.
I think that um, there's an inner magic that we carry that if you care enough, you have to have the want to activate it. But once you activate it, anything we attach ourselves to, we enhance.
Hmm.
And that goes across all mediums, all spectrums, all fields. Anything that we typically stand next to or bring culture to, it goes, global. It goes far. It's up to you to determine how you feel what you feel success is
Hmm.
and how you most feel honored. For me, it's having multiple successes.
Hmm.
Some people they'll join one place and they're there for 10, 15, 20 years. I'm a person, I like to go in. These are all your creative ideas. These are the goals. These are the plans. Let's take it as far as we can, and then we can still, of course, work together. But then I'm on to the next project. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm on to the next thought. Yeah.
That's crazy you said that because that was actually a question for me. I said one of the things that I admire about you because I maneuver that way even though I work in a corporate space is
Mhm.
that typically people would stay with companies and brands for years and then pivot.
Yeah.
You kind of do the contracting, you come in and you leave. What do you think is the benefit of maneuvering that way?
Well, the one thing I used to always do, or I used to always tell people, is that when you have these nine to fives, pay attention to how the entire business and everything is structured. Everything. Don't just be a worker. Like, don't just
Right.
get into the phase of you're just continuously working. get into the face. Sorry, my puppy just interfered. I also have a mini schnauzer. He just doesn't care about anything
He wants to be
comes
in
in
the
my
interview.
lap. Yeah. But what I always say is like, just because you have a 9 to 5, you should still be paying attention to how the structure of that business is made. There's things from that if you want to have a life of entrepreneurship or a side hustle, which you pretty much need to survive in America today,
Mm-hmm.
you you can pull from those different pillars that you already kind of work in that structure and build your own. And so I tell people you can do it either way. You can either be a pivot, you can either pivot or you can treat your 9 to 5 as your first investment. It's up to you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you're a person who wears many hats and you have your hands in many things, hence your hashtag, Yuie stay busy.
Yes.
Can you talk about this hashtag and also how do you prevent burnout? Because you do a lot.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's I don't even know how I've still been able to manage. I don't have really have like an assistant. I always tell people I have an assistant, but my assistant, I have like 3,000 assistants, if that makes sense, right? Like there's people that I work with in different mediums and even in different countries. I mean, I do business both international and national. Um, Yui Stay Busy came from I really embodied. And I think we talked about this the last time we spoke, but it's actually like hard for me that there are other. I understand there's other people who don't exist like this, and it's not the same energy as like a Puff or somebody like that who I've worked with, who is like hustle 24/7, never sleep. It's not that, but it really is like a day without doing some type of movement or research or something that gets you closer to your purpose or your goals, you've just wasted a day that you've been granted.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a very my sense of the worth of life is just way too high for me to waste that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just can't waste a day. Like I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't do that. You know what I mean? So Yui Stay Busy really came from that, where I can't waste a day without me doing something creative or something that pushes me towards my purpose. And I do the same with others. I'm constantly telling the people around me the same, that I hope that they get to a point where, there's a post that I've been putting up for the last 14 years, and it's if you're up, you're blessed. And
Mm-hmm.
I put that up every
Every
single
morning
day for
I
14
see
years.
it.
Since 2009, I have been putting that post up, or 2010, I think. I've been putting that post up, and so um, that goes into the whole ideology that like just being here is a blessing. So you just can't waste it.
Is that
Can't
how you
waste it.
define success, though? Being able to do all the things?
Success when I was in my 20s was that I took pride in being able to do everything, right? Um, Success now in my late 30s, which is where I'm at now, um, is really, you know, it's a lot of what I do now is I want to be able to have really, really dope stories to tell my kids when they get older. Like
Mm.
I want to be able to do things that I can pass on to them that, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be legacy, but just from them hearing the story of how I was able to accomplish it is going to inspire them to do whatever it is that they want to do. Like my children are going to be curators. They're going to be throwing events. They're going to know how to do a budget. They're going to know how to get vendors. They're going to know how to do contracts. Like these are the things that I'm going to be teaching them, in my home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like these are the things I'm going to be putting in them, because no matter what field they end up going into, they will know how to activate that field in a way to bring themselves success.
Okay. So just to rewind a bit,
Yeah.
last time I interviewed you, I felt you were managing Jadina. I can't
Jadena.
say that name. Jadina.
Yes, I was
And
working with
now you're
Jadena.
managing
Desi Banks.
Desi Banks. Why the
How did that
transition?
happen?
But also, how did you get into the space of management too? Because I have friends who are artists. Every day someone's asking me, I want you to manage me. I have no real knowledge of the music industry. I'm also filming TV. And I'm just like, why do so many people want to manage me? Like, what is it about me that, like, I don't care, I believe in you. So I'm just curious to
Yeah.
know, how did you even get into that space?
So it's interesting you say that. My actual degree is in film and TV.
Same.
My degree is
Production?
in film and TV. Yes, film and TV production. That's my actual degree is in film and TV production. Management. Okay, this is I want to kind of like it's a layered response to what management is, especially at this level where you're dealing with people who have like millions of followers and like
My
anything that
anxiety
they.
is crazy
Oh
even
yeah,
thinking of that.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're managing this level of talent, and I've been blessed to kind of climb that. I went from, Puff's team to Janelle Monáe's team with Jadena, and then from there I ended up with, Desi. And before that, I had a visual artist. And how I actually got into management. I was just like you. I was absolutely anti it for a very long time, right? For a very long time. Um, I was just very yeah, I just was like, I don't want to manage somebody's life,
Yeah,
like, I don't
literally
want
what I
to.
say. I'm still getting my shit together. What you mean?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't want to be responsible for that. But management is this. You are the last to be thanked, and you are
Mm.
the first to be blamed.
Mm.
If you are not able to deal with that every single day that you're on the job, then this is probably not the world you want to be in as far as management.
Thanks for confirming my speculations.
The second answer to that question is, so Jadena, how I got with Jadena, we had met each other throughout the years. And there's actually this really old photo of me hugging him and Kaylani at like the same time. Like him, Kaylani, and myself like met at the same time at this Roots picnic. Sorry for the background noise. I
You're
have
fine.
children
I
that,
told you this is very organic.
yeah.
We love to see it. We love to hear it.
So, so if you look, yeah, it's this old Roots picnic photo of me, Kaylani, and Jadena, and we're all like embraced. And that was around the Classic Man time when we all kind of originally met. We kept in contact. We, every time we see each other, it was always love. Um, and as I was transitioning out of festivals, and transitioning out of working with Puff and his son, um, rest in peace to Kim Porter, who actually was the one that brought me into that situation.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So Kim was the one that I actually had the relationship with. So Kim directly introduced me to Puff and like was like, I want him to manage our son. You know what I'm saying? It was great, and I did. And eventually, I had to step away. And it was cool. Like we're still family. I still see them. I still talk to his whole team. It's still love. And I had him when he was 19 to 21. That's when I had Christian with me. So if you look far enough on my Instagram, you'll see a 19-year-old Christian Combs running around, running around with me. And I have some phenomenal stories from that time. Like that was just an amazing time. He was just a young artist trying to like find his voice, and now he has like one of the top songs on the radio. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like
He
so.
performed at the Hip Hop Awards.
Come on, it's just so cool to see like this, this young man that I was with now becoming this, this young. He was he was a teenager, but now he's like this young man. So it's beautiful. But I ended up leaving that, and then I ended up, with the situation with Jadena, and we had a great 2-year run. We worked from, pretty much zero to that album when that album dropped, 85 to Africa. We
Mm-hmm.
did, he was viral, kind of everywhere, it kind of blew up, and he allowed me to curate it. You know what I'm saying? He allowed me to, what I wanted to do with Jadena was I understood that, and this is another thing with management, like you're not a miracle worker,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a manager, even if you're dealing with someone who's quote unquote, you know, this is what I try to explain to people, right? Even with, okay, I'm trying to understand it. There has to be talent there for you to curate.
Right.
Okay, let me really double click on the word talent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can
You gotta
anyone make a
sugarcoat
song?
it.
Well, it takes me back to a conversation I actually had with Little B. This is the most random conversation. This is the most random reference probably ever. Way back in the day when Little B was like at the top, right? And he was like buzzing and he was selling out venues. He came to Philadelphia, and I know I go over the place, but I'll tie it all in.
You're fine.
He came to Philadelphia, and we were in the green room talking. And I asked him, I said, yo, like that room out there is sold out right now. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of kids out there with their vans in their hand, saying, hey, can you like fuck my bed? All that crazy stuff that he used to say. And and I said, yo, I said, but people be saying like your music is like, trash or whatever. And he turned to me, he said, I just asked him. I'm from Philly. I didn't have no filter. I was like, yo, people be saying your music is trash. What's up? And he was like, he said this. He said, there's no such thing as trash music if someone likes it.
Wow. So the people trash.
So his theory was this. His theory was he didn't even think about making music from the spectrum of like trying to be like some superstar. His biggest thing, that was his biggest thing. If I can make one person like it, I can make 10 people like it.
Right.
I can make 100 people like it. I can make 2,000 people like it. I can make point where I'm calling me in the middle of the Instagram live. I apologize.
You're fine.
So that was his theory. That was Little B's theory. So I go back to Tyler. The person that you're working with or that you want to manage has to have some type of talent that resonates into other people liking what they do. I don't care what it is. If it's you, if you're really good at hosting, and I said, hey, I would like to manage you, then my role is to enhance or elevate the goals that you already have. I can't come in with the plan. My goal is just to enhance your plan. You know what I'm saying?
That you kind of asking me? Is that you pitching me?
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, it's interesting that you say that because I think I might have a solution because I was like, I can't manage everybody, right? But I think my old self, we can go back to it, but my old self may have came back up to inform my present day self of a solution to being able to help people kind of, I don't want to say manage themselves, but be able to take some of the keys or some of the structure that I use in management and apply it to themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was the second one, right? The second part is they have to have some form of talent, right? So Jadena had a lot of talent, and he allowed me to come in and kind of curate that talent. He's handsome. So I said, okay, I should create a space where women can get close to him. That's literally all it was. He said, are you like, this is what you want to do for my listening part? I said, yes, this is what we should do for your listening out, for your album listening. We should do parties. I said, we should do parties where women can come and dance with you. And it was all over the shade room. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
It was huge. So from there, what shifted and kind of changed everything for me was the birth of my daughter. My daughter being born, my firstborn, who will be 4 years old this year, Zayla. Her being born, it started the shift in my life. I could no longer run I wasn't able to balance like being in the music industry and becoming a father. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew that I had to, and she lived in a different state than me. So I was like, I just knew I had to figure out a way to get, I had to be as close to her as possible. So that took me out of music. I ended up becoming the marketing director for Slutty Vegan in that time, in that kind of small window. And during that time, I'm still curating events. I'm still, doing concerts. Dog, can you please stop licking me? Sorry. He doesn't care at all, yo. But I was still curating events. I had just did a huge event at the Super Bowl where we had honored women in sports, and then the pandemic hit. Pandemic hits, and I'm like, oh shoot, what am I going to do? I started my agency, the PYP agency, which was something I started specifically during the pandemic, just to kind of give the tools to people to say to them, like, once this is over, like, I want you to be able to go, like, make hella money. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up getting like 100 clients, and it was really dope. I worked with them kind of one-on-one for like 2 years, and that was really dope. And then randomly, I got a call from a friend of mine, and she said, I think I know somebody who's looking for a manager.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is during the pandemic. I'm like, who's working, during the pandemic? And she said, well, he's a comedian. And I said, okay, bet. I said, well, who's the comedian? She said, Desi Banks. And I'm like, Desi Banks? Desi Banks? Like, the comedian that I knew, And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, that's crazy. I said, because we actually had met each other, a few years prior at a dinner party. And to fast forward this, we ended up meeting. I basically gave him the plan and kind of told him what I saw or what I envisioned for us working together. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so we've been together now for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
3 years I've been managing Desi Banks. So my
He's
transition.
on tour right now too, right?
He is. So Desi toured 50 cities last year. He sold 55,000 tickets across America. Desi is, and I don't mean this, just because I manage him. He is one of the brightest, youngest. I'm talking about a throwback to like the BET Comic View era, a throwback like to the Def Comedy Jam era. And it's right now we're kind of teetering in the space of he's still like the best kept secret, if that makes sense, right? He's selling out all over the place. The hood knows about it, but now we're starting to really see that diverse audience. This year is the first year that since I've been working with him, the entire first month of the tour sold out.
Wow.
The entire, I'm talking about every single show. He sold at least, probably, I can't even imagine how many tickets he sold. Probably anywhere between 2,500 to 3,000 a weekend, which is a lot for stand-up comedy. And yeah, he's just going crazy. And so if you do get a chance to see Desi, you should definitely see him live. We have a lot of incredible blessings coming this year that are going to take us even further, into the spectrum of just, people noticing and knowing what he's doing. And I'm really excited to see, this come together and eventually for us to, be in movies and all types of things.
Well, congratulations. I definitely want to see it. I like comic shows, even though I don't go to a lot of them stand-up shows.
Yeah.
I think the last one I went to, I know Just Hilarious was there. Tony Rock was there. It was in Brooklyn at the King Theater. I think it was an April Fool's show. It was like April Fool's joke. And I know, what's his name? I'm horrible with names. I don't want to say he's on Wild 'N Out because he's actually one of that light skin, nice eyes. He's super funny, but his sense of humor is like dark humor. God,
that was the last show that you went to.
D-Ray
Davis.
Yes. Why was I DJ D-Ray?
We actually just did New Year's with D-Ray. Desi killed it. He went to Chicago with him. But to me, what I say to Desi all the time, what we talk about all the time is, it's the business of spreading joy. Mm-hmm. And, coming out of the pandemic, this was the perfect transition. This was the perfect lane for me to step in, where basically all I do is work for Black people to laugh. Everything that I do, all the meetings, all the calls, he's the vessel. Like Desi is the vessel. You know what I mean? 100%. He is just a naturally funny person. But my job is to put that in front of as many people as possible. But the real core reason why I like this work so much, or I'm so excited about continuing to see him blossom, is that the Black joy element, the fact that my people are finding joy in the work that we're doing, makes it all the much better.
How do you deal with people saying oh, comedy? I mean, they don't say comedy is dead, but they're like, comedy is not the same because of the Me Too movement and everyone's so sensitive now. How you got your team dealing with that type of transition?
Well, there's two ways to go about it, right? Actually, there's three ways. Right? There is the Cat Williams approach, right? Cat Williams says, you can say anything, but that also means that you will be held accountable for what you say, right? And that if you're a true comedian, you can you don't have to punch down or hurt anybody in order to make people laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can even make them laugh. Okay, so that's Cat Williams. Then there's, I'll say there's four ways. Then there's the Dave Chappelle approach. You can't cancel me. I'm uncancelable. I'm smarter than most of you. So even with my even what you're upset at is a part of the punchline. Like you don't even realize that like I've written the material so well that even you going off and being upset is intentional.
I want
Like I want you
to be upset.
There you go. And then there's the like the approach of like being PG and like, you know, being very careful and like not saying anything and like being very cookie cutter, which there are a lot of people that do that. And then there are folks like Desi, who I would say he is a combination of all the greats. And yes, he does care, but not enough to take away from who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about Desi is he is Desi Banks. That is his actual name. He's not a character. You know what I'm saying? So like when he goes up there, he's himself. And so he's able to kind of project himself and just be himself. And he's getting better and better and better. The phase that he's in, from what I see, is he's of course a buzzing and rising comedian, but he's actually starting to get into the sweet spot where the audience doesn't know if it's material or not.
Mm.
Like they don't know if he's freestyling or if he's telling a joke.
Right.
And
That's
that
good.
to me, oh, when you get there, you're out of here. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's something that we definitely discuss. But usually more times than not, I'm the one saying, hey, I don't think we should do this, and he just does it.
He's easy to manage. Like he takes your notes into consideration, or he's like, I want to do it anyway. Let's figure out a way where we can do it.
More times than not, he does. One thing I love about Desi is Desi has a very he has a free thought approach from the perspective of like he wants you to bring him what you think, right? Mm-hmm. He's one of the talents where he wants you to kind of tell him what your thoughts are and the things that you're thinking of, the things that you want to do. And I say to anybody, like, if you're going to work with someone or be with someone or be around someone, you know, you should be around people who are going to give you the space to tell your ideas. You know what I'm saying? Right. And give you the space to invest in your ideas if they make sense. And the fourth and final answer to management, this is a very hard thing to understand. You have to find the balance between your job is of service. So you are there to manage their business, not manage the business, if that makes sense, right? Not to manipulate the business. Like that's not your job. Your job it's not what you want. It's what the client wants. And you have to do it in the best way that you can possible. So it's a very interesting balance that you have to learn, where you end up learning, you know, how to work with your client. I know opportunities to bring to him, and I know some opportunities to never put in front of him. You know what I mean? And I think you end up learning that balance as you start to work with your talent. But it's something that, you know, I call it brotherhood through business. When you do good business, that builds the brotherhood.
I feel like when I told Pinson, who brought you on for the Jamboree, that I was interviewing you for my platform, he was like super excited, and he was just like, oh my gosh, like you understand how good, like his face is good everywhere. So I feel like a lot of opportunities you have is not just hard work, but you maintain good relationships with people. And I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how important it is to maintain relationships in this industry. They don't like the importance of networking and just being authentic with people and just being a decent human being. So if you can just speak on that, because I just feel like people are like rude and be like, well, you know my heart, you know what I meant to say. And people are not like trying to be politically correct or be respectful, and don't think like any dirt you do will come back to haunt you.
I will forever be able to provide for myself and my family strictly based off a relationship. Strictly based off the relationships that I have. Ro, get out of here, Ro. Strictly based off of my relationships, I will forever be good. No matter what, like no matter what situation. It's part of the reason why I don't really trip a lot. Like when I'm working with people or individuals, whether it goes good or goes bad, because I'll just pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like no, like I, I, I create the relationship, I foster the relationship, and I make sure that people understand that even if time passes, that you're someone that's still very special to me. And you can ask around about, about myself. I like to give for just to give. I mean, I don't believe on holding. I don't hold contacts. I don't hold information. I share any information. If we're able to connect and you ask me a question, I'll answer the question.
You don't
I don't.
gatekeep.
Yeah, I don't live under this space of like only the real should know, because the reality is that a lot of these people that we see, especially on these apps, they you're not a boss if you can be fired.
Mm.
So this whole like boss complex that you see people walking around, this whole like main character complex, and then they get laid off, and then they're on a panel somewhere talking about the job that they used to have. You know what I'm saying? Like you remove that from your mind. You're not a boss. I don't even call myself a boss. You are a part of a process. You are a part of a system, and you are part of success, no matter what you do. You know what I mean? And there's no such thing as job security. You know what I mean? So
That's when I heard a lot of
relationships,
entrepreneurs.
there's no such thing as job security, because anything can happen. We saw just with the pandemic where everything shut down. Anything can happen. So the best way to secure yourself is by creating community and always having those relationships. And, sometimes you'll work together and sometimes you won't. Sometimes, there's people that I was supposed to work with that I've known since 2012 that I just worked with in 2018. You know what I mean? And so another big part of maintaining relationships is not forcing anything, allowing the universe to kind of put you in places to be successful, but also knowing your network and knowing when to activate people in your network and bring them into success. So that's something that I enjoy doing. I appreciate that he said those words about me, and I do take pride in my name, for the most part, being good in rooms that I'll go into, and having relationships that I've had for years and years. But a big part of that is really just having that humility, not thinking so high of yourself that you think you're above everyone, and talking to everybody. When I came up in the game as a promoter, I talked to the security guard. I had the number for the people in the box office. I talked to the parking attendant. I got everybody's
Right.
number. I get the parking attendant's number because if the event is sold out and I need parking, guess who's going to give me a spot? The parking attendant.
Right.
I'm really, really cool with the box office. I don't just walk past them and act like they don't exist. I treat them with love and care, because if for any reason I ever need to get somebody through the front door, they're going to look out for me. I treat the security with respect because they're protecting me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I want them to grab me first.
So important. I feel like, my experience with going to networking events before I even got to where I am now, I'll go to networking events and people don't care about who I am. They just want to know what I do or who I know. And it's just like, well, you should still treat me with respect. You don't know what I'm going to become. And
Right.
I think I really love that you said that you treat everyone with respect, because everyone plays a part.
It's a cliche thing to say, people say it all the time, but I think if kindness does go, it does go a far way. I always tell people, you're not wrong for being the good person. The person who does the fucked up shit, they're the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people, they dislike being good, or they try to talk. I don't know when I think social media might have turned that,
Being in your villain era.
Yeah.
I always say it's natural for me to help people, to do things for people. I actually get off by doing that. It makes me feel good. So I'm like, I don't want to change the core of who I am because somebody else fumbled that bag. Like, why do I have to be an asshole because of what somebody else did? Why am I giving someone else that power to change me?
That lane, that line that you just said right there is the most powerful thing that anyone can hear. Why allow someone else's actions to change your inner person? And that's something that I embody. So even in a lot of tense situations where, other people might be upset, typically I'm pretty calm most of the time because I try my best to not allow those things to affect my person. Of course, I have those moments where I do, and we're all human beings, so we always have to work on, our shadow selves, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're aware of it and you don't allow yourself to become stagnant, because once you become stagnant,
Yeah.
just don't, just can't do it. You just can't do it. It's such a waste of your magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a waste of your magic to not try, like to not just go to YouTube and type in what
Learn.
you want to do. You know what
I'm
I'm
in any
saying?
job I've had, any role I've had, after like 6 months and a year, I always exceed the expectation of that role and I get bored.
Mm,
And that's when I'm like, okay, y'all need to start challenging me before I leave and go to another company
mm,
who's gonna give me more. Like, I love you guys, but
mm.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's why I said I don't embody that whole mindset of pivoting. Like once my time is up, unless y'all giving me more, I'm out.
You know what's so interesting is I've seen a couple of financial experts actually say that that's a big way to keep like if you are like a 9 to 5er, to keep yourself continuously going up is to intentionally pivot from roles to roles, like to use one job to get another job, to then
Mm-hmm.
get the next job, to then get the next job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's actually like a real strategy that works. You know what I'm saying? That you don't have to just stay in one space. You can pivot. I just saw a tweet today where it said, no one knows what they're doing, apply for that senior position. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, don't even like trip, like just apply. Like, you never know what can happen.
I said this role right now at BT is my last assistant role. My next thing
Mm,
either is to be a coordinator or a manager because I
mm,
learned all I can learn. Every assistant job I have, I already function as if I'm a coordinator doing more the job asks of me. And I'll be
yes.
like, all right, let's y'all don't give me that title. I'm gonna go somewhere that will give me the title. Like no hard feelings. I'm ready to go.
You
Y'all got to
have to.
catch up.
You have to. It's too important to, you just can't stay stagnant. You have to continuously be in a space of, you know, real good movement, movement that makes sense. And that's something I tell everybody. Mo, what's good, brother? That's something that I tell people all the time is like, how I pick my clients is I like to work with people who are already working. I like to
Right.
work with folks that already have a vision and a plan. All I need is the goal list. Once we come up with the goal list, let's go execute because it's not, you don't have to overthink it. Sometimes I think people, they'll overthink it and they think that it has to be like this kind of like this kind of like, this real like roadmap thing. It's like, no, it's okay. You want to do this. So let's create a list. Let's talk about what I have access to, what you have access to, whatever we don't have access to, let's work towards getting access to, and then let's just complete the goal.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what I do with all of my clients. I like to, we create that kind of strategy together, and then we just go execute. My job is to help you get, you just gonna bite on the wall right in front of me? You crazy? Sorry. These puppies, they be teething. I'm like, hey man, come on, you treat them. Hey man, you're a black child, you know better than that. Um, but the goal is to help your clients execute and help them achieve. And so that's what I always do. That's what I tell people. Like, when it comes to management, get that goal list, and your jobs are to just go and execute together.
Right. One thing that you said to me in our interview during the pandemic that I've actually applied in everything when I'm brainstorming something is I think of it and I want to bring it back and I feel like it's so essential for not just entrepreneurs, but anyone who has like a brand or work for a brand or wants to be a gun like you. You said when you're building things, 3 things you think about is impact, influence, and purpose. So I want to
Yes,
bring that to those who missed that gem.
yes, yes. So impact, influence, and purpose. You those are kind of my three stationary. Those are kind of my three gems that I use to kind of build off of whenever I'm executing or doing anything. Is that if this is if it's will it be impactful? That's the first thing. Who will this impact? How will this impact people? kind of asking yourselves those questions as you kind of plan. What is the purpose of it? Are you doing it on purpose? Is this something that needs to happen? Kind of being really strategic about the purpose of the event or the purpose of the activation or the purpose of even your inclusion. And then influence. Who are you looking to influence and how will this influence people? I think if you keep those three, items or jewels at your core, you'll always create places where you're going to either build community, build culture, and have success, or just do some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you'll have a clear understanding of kind of what you're trying to create. So this is, that's the space that I'm in now. I'm going into my 15th year next year of doing this type of work where I work for myself. I've been doing it since I was 23 years old. It's so crazy.
I didn't realize how old you are, Yusuf. I thought you were like close to my age.
Yeah, so I turned, it's so funny. So I'm talking to Desi, we're having a conversation, and this is like most of my conversations with him end up being like this where I bust out laughing. But there was this clip of Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle where he told him his age.
Oh, yeah, he's like, damn.
I'm talking to Desi, and I was like, yeah, I'm turning 37 this year. And he said, damn. I said, Desi, come on.
That was literally my reaction. I was like, really?
Yeah, I turned 37 this year, man. It's now that I really like it's kind of hitting me like, oh shit, like I'm about to be 40 in 3 years. You know what I mean?
But you will climb
it's
so much. I think you have so much to be proud of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I called you the GOAT earlier. You was like, oh no, stop. No, you're the GOAT. Like,
I shy away from it just because there's so many more things that I still want to do.
And that's fine. You'll be the GOAT sequel, but you're the GOAT.
Yeah. I think sometimes, you do a lot and you have a lot of success. And I am now, I will say I'm in my most reflective period. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my most reflective period. I'm in the period of my life where I'm really reflecting on the things that I've done and the places that I've been and the things that I've seen, and just finding ways to get it out. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to turn what I do into like a course, but I don't want it to just be an online course. I want it to be something that I actually travel around and teach at universities. Like I want this to be a class that if you go to college, there's
what's the syllabus?
Well, to me, I want this to be like the true liberal arts class. You know what I'm saying? Like that no matter what your art is, you can learn how to activate it in this class, right? You can go to this class, imagine being a 19, 20-year-old kid and you have other creative ideas or things that you want to do. This is a way for you to actually make income and create businesses while you're in college. This is a way for you to be able to activate your magic and really be able to utilize the relationships in your school to your best advantage instead of just being at the school,
right?
And so that's something that I want to create. That's something that I want to create. I want to bottle up. I want to kind of digitize, what I do and figure out a way to teach it. So that's something I'm working on now. I'm working on that now, and eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to pull that off.
The first student right in the front with my apple.
What's crazy is, ideas come back to you, and sometimes you don't remember that you've done it before. So in 2016, I actually hosted an event called Curator Class. And it was a class designed to teach you how to be a curator. It was literally how to teach you how to just create. And I remember the first event that I did, it sold out immediately. It was instantly sold out. It was like 200 tickets. And I had totally forgot about that I had done this event. So when this came back to me, so that's why I was saying earlier in the conversation where I said, sometimes your older self informs your present self. Write down your ideas because you never know when you can, when you'll be able to activate them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess probably not last part. This question is two-part. One, this is something I haven't done with my previous guests, but I want to start doing it now.
Yeah.
I want you to end off with just describe yourself in 3 words. How would you describe yourself?
describe myself with in 3 words. Um, the first one is 2 words, but it's one term. It's Papa Yuie, like being a dad. Like that's number one for me. That's number one. Anyone who knows me knows that my world revolves around my babies, and seeing them be successful and have good lives. I believe that you're not necessarily here to just raise them, but really just to kind of guide them. And that's all I want to do. I want them to like have fun and there's this ideology that you can remove fear from a kid by allowing them to have, they call it like safe, dangerous fun, right? Like they can do dangerous things, but safely. I kind of want them to live the same way. Like I want them to live dangerously, but like strategic, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want them to live with no filter and like think forward and always think wide and always think that they can do it. Never that for them to almost be offended by the idea of can't. Like to can't, like can't is like what do you mean? Yeah, like for them to be offended by that, by that thought. So father is first. Second is purposeful. Yeah, everything that I do is with purpose. Everything that I do is with purpose. And I typically, even in instances where people might think that it's not, everything I do is on purpose. There's a term in film called Trump. I think it's called Trump Lloyd, and it means trick of the eye. But the idea of it is that even what you see that is like a trick is intentional. That's the idea of this kind of like this type of mentality. So it's not to be like manipulative, but it is to make sure that you have foresight and that you're deliberate with the way that you kind of view the spaces that you put yourself in. So purposeful would definitely be my second. And then my third would be I'm a social loner.
A social loner? Like you're a loner?
That's my third. Social loner. So I'm social because I want to be, because I have to be. Like I'm very intentional with being social. But I'm a loner at heart, and I really enjoy kind of like the privacy of just being able to reflect, being able to listen to music and kind of recharge. I'm very intentional about that as well. Like I'm very intentional about my self-care. I believe in getting massages. I believe in getting your nails done, getting your feet done. I believe in skincare. I believe in doing all the things that you can to just have self-care. And as men specifically, it's very, very important. Stress and mental health. They've kind of, they've made it into like this kind of like, like a fad type of thing, right?
But the soft life.
Yeah, soft life and all that stuff where you're just like making a sandwich.
I just saw a post someone put on Facebook, and he said he don't believe in men being soft life. I'm a man or something like that. And I was like under the post like soft life doesn't mean you're weak. Soft life is being intentional about how you care for yourself and your mental health and being deliberate about what makes you happy. That has nothing to do with being weak.
I think for all of us, just as men, we have to look at ourselves as human beings first before we're men.
Thank you.
And I think that's the key. Like being a man, it's it's fun and it's great and wonderful and we've hyped it up and it's this beautiful thing. But being a human being, without having to like, change who you are to kind of fit a title, depending on what room you're in, is probably the better and easier and more comfortable way to live. And it's the way that I live. Like I'm a human being before I'm some man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I'm male. Yes, I'm male, but
it's not your personality. I think people make being a man part of their personality.
And they usually and that leads to typically the majority of the time it's negative. You know what I'm saying? Because of a lot of the connotations of what being a man is. So with my sons and my children, I'm going to be very clear, especially even my daughter, very clear to them that, you know, anyone who's just so preoccupied with trying to be the most manliest man is probably someone just stay away from. You know what I mean? Like, they're dangerous. They're probably somebody that it's not worth being around. It's not worth wasting your time. But people who are really concerned with being just good human beings, and that doesn't mean that you're, you know, there's a word that I want to use, but it doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to gain friendships. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to be cool with some people and not be cool with others. You're going to win money. You're going to lose money. That's the duality of life. But the goal is to just keep that human base and continue to believe that as long as you have a plan and as long as you are intentional and as long as you are living your purpose, you know, you can always be successful. So sorry for these long-winded answers, but I hope that.
No, that's fine. We love this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Last thing before you sign off and go about life. Any advice for anyone who's tuning in, who's an entrepreneur, creative, or wants to get in the space that you are in?
Absolutely. The first thing I would say is write down your network. You know, don't just have your network be in your mind, because what that means is that you'll be reactionary instead of proactive. So, you know, create an Excel sheet, you know, write down their name, what they do, where you know them from, and what your relationship is with them, and allow yourself to kind of see your network. This is a strategy and a tool that I give to all of my clients, and it works wonders. Because then the second part is really writing down your goals. And what you do with your goals is, instead of overthinking it, you do it in keyword fashion. So you just write the first words that come to your mind and write that down as your goals. And then the third piece is you take your goal list and you look at your network and go to work and go crazy. Because the majority of the time, when you really look at your network, if you really go A through Z in your phone, which I have with my phone, I have an Excel sheet that really breaks down like the entire network, all the different relationships that I have. And I don't treat people as the relationship, but I value them for who they are and what they do creatively. And when the time is right, or when, or if, the reason why I like it is because if I have an opportunity for people, I know who to hit. You know what I'm saying? And if I have an idea, I know who to hit. And if I want to invite people to something, I know who to hit. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes, instead of just living so reactionary, it's okay to just take time and breathe, and, you know, and be proactive with your goals. Really write down your network. Really write down the people that you know, or even write down the type of people, that you want to know. Those would be kind of the three things that I would tell creatives, or my kind of advice that I would give folks to just keep going. This is our Jordan year. You know, this is the year that for all of us, we're a couple years out of this pandemic, which affected a lot of us in tremendous ways. We did a good job of hiding it by putting up funny and nice posts on Instagram, but a lot of us really, life hit us hard. So I think it's okay to give yourself grace, but that grace doesn't mean stagnancy. That means, okay, you give yourself grace, and then you make your plan, and then you go execute.
Right. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Yusuf. I already knew this was about to be amazing. I'm inspired. When I actually put this up and put it on YouTube, I know so many more people are going to be inspired. And I appreciate you so much. And in the future, probably working with you, because you already put that in there.
We put that in the air. We put that in the universe. No, I appreciate you for having these conversations. These are so important. This inspires even people like myself. You know, I want to do a music show one day. And so when I see people that are actually just doing it, it makes me so happy, because it's like, damn, you really, like, you can do this. Like, you can create a platform. You can create episodes. You can interview folks. And you are one of the best that I have spoken to. So you definitely have you have a career in that space. You absolutely should, you know, look into conferences. You should absolutely look into speaking engagements and speaking roles. there are a lot of people who really struggle with public speech. And so your ability to orate, your ability to speak is a superpower. So you should absolutely look to activate that in more spaces where you can be a host, in more spaces where you can speak to folks and you can talk to folks.
Part of my goal
You should,
this year is just people
yeah.
giving me an opportunity, and until they do, I'll just be giving myself the opportunity.
And that's the key. That's the key, right? Just knowing the spaces that you can go into will change everything for you. So to me, I would really love to hear you speaking at conferences. So I think that you should make that a goal. Yeah, you should make that a goal to, like, whether it's you moderating a panel or being on a panel, but I would love to see you in that space.
Thank you.
And this was a phenomenal conversation, and I appreciate you having me on.
Because you said it, I know this summer I'm getting booked for something. I know I am.
There you go.
You coined it. I needed that. Because sometimes I do have my doubts, but I'm like you. I'm gonna pivot, and I'm gonna do what I have to do, make things shake. I'm gonna make a platform for myself if I have to. But I really do appreciate you saying that.
So I'm gonna leave you with this, Jim, just because you said something. The root of doubt means that you actually know how to do it. Like you can't doubt yourself if you don't know how to do it. You know what you need to do. You just doubt that you can do it. So if you remove the doubt part and realize, oh, I'm only doubting myself because I know how to do it.
Right. I always check up to girl, it's your anxiety. Get over it.
And that's okay. Listen, those anxieties are a real thing, dude. But that's where I go back to give yourself grace. You know, you're able to hold these conversations and talk to folks even like myself because this is your calling and this is your purpose. So as long as you put yourself in spaces that you want to be in, then that makes you more comfortable to be able to be your full self. So, I don't want to go into whole session mode with you, but you definitely have a future in this. You should absolutely, if I have any of those opportunities, of course I'll share them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Yusuf. This is why I love speaking to you. You just put that fire in me. And I know someone watching this that they're going to be just as inspired. But I don't want to hold you up. I appreciate you so much. I don't know how many times I'm saying that. I asked you in an email if you were a coffee or a tea drinker.
Oh, I'm tea. I got to send you I will send you my information. I will.
Okay,
I will.
Thank you. So thank you so much. Have a good night and sending so much love to your family and the puppy.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, there he is. Come here. There you go. Want to see puppy?
Yes,
Oh,
get your cameo.
Yeah, there he is.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. Have a good one.
Right. Bye.
I don't know. That was amazing. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm going to upload this now. If you haven't, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to upload last week's episode and this week's episode, hopefully tonight, because once I get off, I go to sleep. But looking forward to next week. I have another amazing guest coming on next week, and that one is going to be for the artist. So Monday, the promo will drop, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. So bye.